Carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. Check that your stripes are in order. Growl at your fellow members of the genus Panthera. And feast upon the flesh of a succulent ungulate.
Because it's time to talk Tull to me.
Well... Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Omen Sade.
And I am Nick McGill.
Together, we are Feckless Momes.
And guess what? This is Talk Tull to me.
A woodland hunt through the dangerous forest that is prog rock, where Nick and I, voracious for flesh, will hunt album by album for juicy tidbits, from the jackrabbit of Benefit to the capybara of Aqualung, all the way down to the tree rat that is the Christmas album. Bite by bite, song by song, Nick and I will devour the entire discography of Jethro Tull.
Before we dive into today's yummy, still steaming meal, I've got a little note from our Anglo correspondent.
Ah!
John has written in response to our desperate pleas from Act 3 of a Passion Play, The Business Office of G. Oddie and Son.
Fantastic.
Dear John writes, I don't know of any particular significance to Kentish Town, which we asked why.
Yes, I remember.
Why should we pray for the souls of Kentish Town? And he wonders if it actually was a part of London that Ian lived in at some point. Yeah. Because that's why we hear Baker Street Mews later on, so he could have just been affected by it.
Right.
Also, in that episode, he talks about, you talked about pie in the sky, but didn't pick up on the religious aspect of that phrase. It originated with the song The Preacher and the Slave, which satirized the Christianity preached to slaves as offering pie in the sky when you die.
Ooh, how timely, John.
Yeah, pretty poignant right now.
You hit pie in the sky when you die, that's a lie.
Who is that song?
It looks like Utah Phillips.
Oh, Utah
Phillips, The Preacher and the Slave.
Yeah.
And then finally, more obscure than that is the phrase, I'll go to the foot of our stairs, which is an expression of surprise and disbelief from the north of England, typically uttered by working-class women. It is of unknown origin, but is likely a genteel locution for an obscenity. Have a nice day, John.
Much obliged, John.
As always, thank you, John, for your Anglo insight. We appreciate it. And I love I'll go to the foot of our stairs. It's basically saying, like, get out of here, right? But instead of telling someone to get out of here, you're saying, I'll get out of here. Like, I can't handle it. I can't stand it, so I'll just go upstairs. You're threatening to leave the room.
Or are you saying, like, go to the foot of our stairs?
No, it's I'll go to the foot of our stairs. So it's
well, that's how Ian sings it. Is that what John wrote?
Oh, yeah, that's what he has here.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, fond listeners, try out that expression in your daily usage and tell us which usage of it works best for you.
Yes. Yeah, please. Please let us know how and why you're using it.
Yeah.
And
what the reaction
we'll was. What do people think of it? And we'll make a compilation.
Call us from prison when you have some good research on it.
Yeah, I'm sure it's used frequently in prisons.
Well, John, thank you. As always, you are truly the awful in our steak and kidney pie.
Yeah, I could not have put that any better.
No, I hope you won't.
But that is it for our notes. Again, thank you, John. Let's move on to the song that we will be discussing today.
And, Nick, what song is that we will be talking Tull about?
That song is the smash radio hit, Bungle in the Jungle.
Ooh, let's have a listen. Well, Nick, there we have it.
There we have it. Omen, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Bungle in the Jungle? I don't think we've ever really talked about this one.
I love it.
It's really good.
You know, it's I sort of feel like there are really not that many Jethro Tull songs where I'm like, no, I don't really want to listen to that. But
Right.
like, you know, this one is nostalgic for me. It gives me a sense of, it sort of triggers that part of my brain that like brings me back to being a teenager, because I heard it, you know, I listened to this song a lot when I first started listening to Tull.
Yeah, this must have been on one of those greatest hits that you had. This has to be.
Oh, absolutely. It's fun to sing.
Yeah.
It's like easy to sing along to. It's got that lovely harmony that Ian does with himself. And it's like, the lyrics are not so opaque that like you have to either ignore them or like really, really, really think
Yeah,
about what they mean.
yeah.
It's an easy song to get into.
Yeah.
It's accessible.
And the singing is clear enough that you can understand what he's saying, which is not always the case sometimes. And it's just fun to sing. Like the lyrics are kind of silly
fun to
sounding.
sing.
Yeah.
I think I said last week, Nick, that this is, you know, we discussed briefly how this is one of the few songs by Jethro Tull that you will reliably find in a karaoke book.
Yeah.
And so, thus, it is one of the only songs that I have ever sung at karaoke when I'm finally libated enough to set aside my introvert tendencies.
We sang this at Coleman's, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm sure we did.
We must have,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember that. I remember that actually.
Yeah.
And it also like it's a better karaoke song than
Aqualung.
Aqualung or Locomotive Breath, because Locomotive Breath has that long solo
Yeah.
in the middle that you always forget about until like the whole bar is just staring at you for like a minute and a half
Yep.
while you stand there.
Yeah, like you can pretend to air guitar, but you still feel like a dummy.
I often would just sing the solo,
Yes, as you do. Yeah.
as I do. Yeah, Nick, single word reactions to this song, go.
Fun. It's a very fun song. Sorry, that was more than one word.
No, let's go back and forth. So you had fun.
okay.
I'll say bombast.
Susian.
Lush.
I think that's good. I don't know
Yeah, I
how
think
far
we
we
did
want to
it.
go with that.
The other-
Thrilling
the whole-
radio.
The whole podcast. Let's talk about some quick facts.
Yes.
So this song was started at the Chateau d'Euroville and
Right.
was part of the failed Chateau disaster recording series. It was reworked and finished in time to be released on War Child. It was also released as a single around the same time. It was the A side of a single with it was Backdoor Angels. So it was
interesting.
It was the A side of a 2-side single with Backdoor Angel.
Of course it had two sides.
Yes, it wasn't one of those non-Euclidean records where it only has one side. Stand by 1 second.
Mobius album.
I have to let Tiki out. That single reached some pretty high numbers. It was one of Jethro Tull's most successful singles in history. It didn't quite break the top 10 in England or the States, but it was near. I think it was number 12 in both cases, and it got to number 4 in a magical place called Canada.
The mythic North.
Yes. Someday we may be able to prove its existence.
I've heard tales. I've met people who claim to be from there and claim to have girlfriends from there, but I've never I've never been. That's not true.
Yeah.
That's the only place out of country I've ever actually been.
Oh, really?
A sheltered life I have led. I've been to the nicer United States. That's
Yeah,
where I've been.
exactly. So what else? Fact-wise, yeah, and you know, as we talked about, I think previously, this is one of the handful of Jethro Tull songs that you, with some regularity, hear on classic rock radio here in the States. Maybe that is different in other more civilized countries.
Right.
But here, yeah, my boss at one of my jobs often plays, and by often I mean literally every second of the day, plays classic radio.
Classic rock, not like classical music.
Oh, thank you for clarifying. Yes, he does not play classical music. He plays classic rock. If I have to hear Italian Restaurant
Oh, Lord.
one more time,
If I have to hear any Billy Joel, I could just
I will go and punch Long Island in its face.
punch Long Island off of the contiguous United States. Just send it into the ocean.
A bottle of white, a bottle of red, perhaps a bottle of rosé instead.
But yeah, I usually hear Bungle in the Jungle, kind of once a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
not
really
bad.
it. And it's nice because you all you need to hear is the literal first note and you know what it is. Because if it's not the animal sounds, it's the flute and you're like, "Oh, Bungle in the Jungle." Okay.
Yep, totally. Let's talk about those animal sounds.
What by Jove are those animal sounds?
I believe that they are animals.
Okay.
I think that cat sound is,
That Yeah.
I think it's a recording of some kind of a tiger or panther.
Okay, I could see that.
I don't know where they got it. I don't know if they made a trip to the London Zoo and just stuck a microphone in the tiger cage, slathered Jeffrey Hammond up in meat sauce and gave him a recorder. And
I have a theory.
yes, tell me.
They recorded the sounds of the band members who had food poisoning in the chateau, and those are the noises that came out.
They just changed the
They dropped the pitch a little bit, and
they dropped
yep,
the pitch exactly.
yep.
And then we have some lovely birds, and then we have some like little quick whistling, which doesn't sound at all like an animal to me. That bit's always confused me.
Yeah, that's clearly like that's the humanoid animal, I guess.
Right. It almost sounds like what you would use to signal either your fellow hunter
Yep.
or perhaps like your mount with.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It leads. I don't know if it's like supposed to just be another bird sound or not, but it lends a very, very human feel to it. So it's not just an untouched, pristine like jungle environment.
Right, which of course is, probably intentional and leads us toward the theme of the song,
Yeah.
which is, as coming out of the Chateau disaster, the theme was animals.
Yeah.
And this is a metaphor for human existence, kind of
Yep.
making the comparison between animals and humans.
Before we go any further, Omen, let's go back to facts real quick. How did Ian feel about this song?
Ah, yes. Yes, as you can hear, this song is in 4/4 time. And,
It's catchy, it's fun, it's light.
it's straightforward, and so it was not one of Ian's favorites.
Clearly, yeah. It was a begrudging production, probably to appease Terry, is my guess.
Yeah.
As was Living in the Past that we heard earlier. However, there's a big difference there because Living in the Past, even though he created that to be a radio hit, which succeeded, that one he did spitefully in like an odd time. Wasn't it 5/4 or something like that?
Yeah, it was. Whereas this one really is straight ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he knew that he had to produce another really good, solid, popular single, and he didn't want to put the time into it to spite. He's just like, okay, we got to do this, so let's do it.
Right. So what he said, I feel self-conscious about it because I wrote it for radio play. It just feels a little too deliberate. Which is the most Ian Anderson thing ever.
Isn't any song deliberate though? He's basically saying it feels just deliberately. It's a deliberate attempt at a radio single, I guess.
Yeah, I think, the phrase that I would use if I felt like that about something is, I say like, well, that feels a bit on the nose, you know.
Sure, sure.
But it's so funny because when I listen to this song, I'm like, that is rock and roll. Like that's like, it sounds like rock and roll. And like, of course, all of Tull sounds like rock and roll to one extent or another, but like, there's no denying that this is like good, clean, old-fashioned rock and roll.
I think it's the closest that Ian could get to sounding like contemporary rock at the time while still making it feel like Tull, because it's still weird enough and eccentric enough to be a Tull song, but it fits into that puzzle piece of this is classic rock.
Right. It's not so weird. Like, you know, if this same song was recorded by the Beatles, you wouldn't be like, oh my God, what the heck were they thinking? Like, you know, it's like, it sounds like a rock and roll song. Even the way that like Martin is playing on this song is, it almost starts to sound like other guitarists.
Yeah.
You know, there's that lick where he's like, wow, 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 and it's like, oh.
Yeah, there's some stings in there that it's like, okay, yeah, I would hear that on Lynyrd Skynyrd or Tom Petty.
Yeah, or the Beatles. I mean, it sort of could be anyone, you know.
I wonder how Martin felt about it. I'm sure he just enjoyed playing it. And I have very little evidence for this, but it seems like it really only bothered Ian to have these more mainstream sounding songs. Like Martin just wanted to play the guitar.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Martin just wanted to play the guitar. Yes, I agree with everything that you have just said.
Thank you.
I give it the Omen stamp of approval.
Ding. Oh, we have different ideas of what stamps do.
Oh, Tiki.
I thought you let her out.
Yes, but cat.
Fair enough. #cat.
#cat. So Nick, why don't we talk a little bit more about the music? Let's take a little deeper dive into this jungle of music. Let's use the jungle metaphor, Nick. What would you say are the biggest plants musically in the jungle? What are the trees of this track?
What's the backdrop? What's the sound feel that we get here?
What is the structure? What is the underpinning? You know, what is the primary thing off of which everything else is built?
I think there's a lot of guitar going on in here that is I don't want to say, I guess, in the background, you know, it's not guitar. Aside from those licks and stings that Martin does every now and then, there's still structural guitar in there that doesn't terribly stick out as individual. It helps weave the piece together and support it as a whole.
Yeah, much like the rubber tree.
Sure. Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Whole Martin Rubber Tree bar.
I would say that Ian's acoustic guitar are the roots of this song, and the electric guitar with Martin are the branches, the leaves, the upper story of this song.
I see that, and it's because it's hard to pick them out at times. It's difficult to see the forest for the trees.
Whoa! I think you may have just saved this metaphor.
My work here is done.
Let's keep going before it gives out underneath us completely. I would say that the bass are the rattan vines that are growing all over this song and allowing us to traverse quickly through it. Jeffrey Hammond is doing something amazing, which we don't hear that much, which is he kind of is playing the melody, not in its full form, but he plays the melody sort of partially. You know, the main part of the verses.
Yeah.
That Ian is singing. He sort of is going dum 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 dum, and it's like, it's really cool.
Down by the water hole, drunk every Friday, eating their nuts, saving their raisins for Sunday.
I think it's probably because there's so much else going on sonically that it's okay
Yeah.
for him to kind of jump in on that. But the problem there is as is the case with the bass almost all the time, it's hard to really pick out and grasp anyway. And if you're not playing counterpoint to the melody, it's going to be even harder.
Well, and yet for me, the bass stands out on this song.
I'm going to have to listen to it again. But I've that's never been a thing that has really registered with me, the bass.
It probably depends on like how you're listening to it. You know, like my headphones are pretty bass heavy.
Yeah.
I am, as you know, Nick, all about that bass.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
And
No trouble.
no trouble. I would say it's halfway through the second verse. Is it so frightening to have me at your shoulder? Is when our strings kick in. I made specific note of the line.
I'm sure you did.
Is it so frightening to have me at your shoulder? Thunder and lightning, couldn't be bolder. I'll write to
They are the flowers. They are
I was going to say
the
I was going to say that they are.
bromeliads.
I was going to say they're the bromeliads.
Nailed it. Thank you, D. They are just they're that sweeping, lovely, classic War Child string that we hear. Until a little bit later on, I think after that second chorus of Bungle in the Jungle, there's I guess you'd call it a bridge from between But I'm a Snake If We Disagree and The Rivers Are Full of the Crocodile Nasties.
Are you talking about
Specifically in that chunk, there is a cello that comes
I
out.
was going to talk about the cello.
Oh, I'm a sucker for cello. That's why
Yeah.
I love the band Murder by Death, because it's like a grungy, it's a grungier Johnny Cash sounding band with a rock cello, and they're amazing. They're absolutely phenomenal.
So raise another pine, roll up the engine and drive off in the night. See you somewhere, someplace, sometime. I know there's better brothers, but you're the only one that's mine. I know there's better brothers, but you're the only one that's mine.
But so
You know, the
that
cello-
made me jump, like just latch right onto it.
The cello is the instrument which most closely replicates the tonality of the human voice.
Right, it has the widest range that fits with the human voice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also looks like a human. In a dark closet, you might mistake one for the
A
other.
short, stumpy, round human.
You know, everyone's got a type.
I mean, sure. Some
So the
people
cello-
would shoot that cello, others would caress it fondly.
Exactly. Exactly. So, following our metaphor, the cello would be the cello I think would be the creeper vine that doesn't need a lot of sunlight and just kind of like creeps along the forest floor and you know gets light where it can take it, but it's one of those ones that's like spiky and has red on the bottom of the leaf to like recollect up any little bits of photons that it can get.
Okay. Yeah, because it only really sticks out in that portion.
Yeah.
It barely sees the light of day. So that
Wait a
fits
minute.
perfectly.
I have a better metaphor. It is the carrion flower of the jungle. It blooms once, very rarely. It's a very impressive, seductive thing, and if you're a fly, you might be attracted to it, and then you would be forced to pollinate it, even though that's not your natural tendency as an insect, as a fly.
And it's hugely phallic.
Massively.
Massively
So
phallic. I just want to point out, I hear your window is open, so I hear birds chirping, and I couldn't be happier
That was intentional.
for this. I hired several dozen birds.
Yeah, it's ruining me financially, but it's worth it. Yeah. You know, Nick, that's really all I have musically.
Well, and then I would just say, like, Ian singing and the flute are birds and animals to populate the.
Yes.
But I don't think we need to go into that. I think that's common knowledge.
They're the fauna.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the word bungle, Nick.
Okay.
How would you define the word bungle?
Well, originally I've known the term bungle as to bungle something, which is like to mess something up.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. To make an unwitting mistake.
Yeah.
Or a series of them.
However, this one, in this usage in particular, this feels more like let's play, or let's get down, let's get funky. Let's
The original title of this song was "Let's Get Funky Like a Monkey."
Oh, I'm glad they changed it.
Yeah,
I'm pretty grateful for that.
The other alternate suggested by Jeffrey Hammond was, "We're gonna do our Hera like a capybara."
And you'll notice that Jeffrey Hammond is not featured on any other songs after this.
That's right. He had to go sit in a corner and think about what he's done.
Yep. No more speaking rules for you, Jeffrey.
No. Yeah. So you're suggesting that beyond its sort of dictionary meaning, it has a more broader meaning, which perhaps only exists in the context of this song.
Let's romp. Let's play. Let's do our thing. Yeah. It certainly doesn't feel like it has that feeling of making a mistake. Unless you make some bad choices in the jungle and that's your mistake, you know?
Well, I think that it might actually be both. You know, I think that I had the immense privilege to go to the rainforests in Ecuador once, and you know, it's very sexy because like there's just so much life happening in every cubic meter.
Yeah.
Like things are eating and reproducing and flowering and dying and rotting, like all at the same time. It is, not to mince words, it is a party.
And it's damp.
And it's damp also, yeah.
Now, there's a certain, it's hard not to feel alive in that situation, and that vivacity makes you kind of lose inhibitions, I would think. You know, it's like I want to be alive too. This is a place where I can be truly alive. I'm not.
It's life affirming.
I'm not stuck in a concrete jungle. I'm stuck in a real jungle.
Right. So like let's make some mistakes.
Let's bungle, baby.
Let's bungle.
Yeah.
You could be my mistake of the night.
And you haven't worn clothes since.
No.
Yep.
Yes.
Nudist.
I'm not allowed in polite society. Actually, I think that there is a country song that's titled like "You Were My Favorite Mistake" or something like that.
Gotta be.
I'm sure. Maybe more than one.
Probably.
So yeah, I think that it's sort of like also of course it rhymes, which is helpful.
It's pretty useful, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I suppose he could have had something to rhyme with forest or plain or
so let's
desert.
Morris dance in the forest prance.
That's beautiful. And that would make one.
Let's have some fundra in the tundra.
The Morris dance in the forest prance is my favorite music video, though. It's just Morris dancing,
Yeah,
which is reviled world round, by the way.
Is it?
It really is. I've heard nothing but just like people talking pretty negatively about Morris dancing. Yeah.
Oh, I think it's one of those things that, like, you know, if it's like asparagus. If it's not done really well, then you probably develop a dislike for it. If you know.
Yeah, and it's easy to not do well.
It's very easy to not do
Yeah.
well. Yeah. That's why I don't do it.
Asparagus or Morris dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither.
Neither.
So right. I mean, and I feel like that's sort of, this is the crux. This is the nugget of this song.
Oh, of
it's
course,
like,
yeah.
life is sexy.
Yep.
And I'm a big cat.
Life is sexy. I'm sexy. You're sexy. Let's be sexy together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a party song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the Miley Cyrus of 1974. Miley Cyrus was the Miley Cyrus of 2002. Like, she's not around anymore.
I have nothing.
I have no modern references, and I'm not sorry for it.
Let's speaking of metaphors, let's talk about some of the metaphors that Ian goes through in this song. So like the whole thesis is like we can compare human attributes and activities to attributes and activities that occur in the jungle. And so, in a society that Ian was living in, let's see if we can draw out some of the parallels. So,
yeah,
walking through forests of palm tree apartments.
Walking through forests of palm tree apartments.
fairly straightforward.
Right. My apartment in New York is actually a palm tree.
Do palm trees have coconuts? No, a coconut has coconut, right?
Well, coconut is a palm
Oh, it
tree.
is. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, not all palms are coconuts, but all coconuts are palms.
Right.
Okay.
Dates are palms.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, it's roomy and datey and nutty.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
So, but walking there, the forests have palm tree apartments, but there is another class level of monkeys who live in dark tents.
Scoff at the monkeys who live in their dark tents.
Right. For me, palm trees are elegant and, they're often in rows. It kind of reminds me of like walking downtown where the high rises are all beautiful and glittering and clean. And then going to, the outskirts where everyone lives in smaller houses.
Okay. So this is definitely the big question I have is this, and maybe now that I think about it, I don't think they're two separate things. I was going to say, is this a racial thing or is this a class thing? And I think it's a Venn diagram here. I think it's just a yes answer.
I think that in England at that time, class was more of a prominent discussion than race.
Okay.
And I think that there's more of a tradition there. I mean, obviously, especially in the States, that line would have definite problematic racial overtones. But
Yeah.
I think that the way that Ian is intending it is, that he's saying that the working class are monkeys.
Sure. It's not necessarily a racial thing. It's just what he's chosen because the lower class is the prey.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas the lions and tigers are the rich upper class who don't have to do anything.
Yeah. They're fast but lazy and sleep in green meadows.
Lions and tigers who wait in the shadows. They're fast but they're lazy and sleep in green meadows.
Right. But when they choose to act, their actions are
Yeah.
devastating, and they because of capitalism they prey on the lives of
Yeah.
those around them.
Oh,
But they look great doing it.
they look so fantastic. The rest of the middle that we jumped over in that first line, it just really clicked for me. The monkeys who live in their dark tents, down by the water hole, drunk every Friday, eating their nuts, saving their raisins for Sunday.
Down by the water hole, drunk every Friday, eating their nuts, saving their raisins for Sunday.
That's saving their pennies. Saving for something special. You scrape by during the week eating the bare minimum, and you save for some little thing that's exciting for you.
Oh, like a roast.
Yeah.
Or are the raisins going to the church? Is that the the little the what's it?
Either the tithe.
Mm-hmm.
Either works really, because Sunday is traditionally the Sunday roast as well. Yeah.
Right. What if instead of a Sunday roast where you like put a big piece of meat in the oven, you picked someone and made jokes at their expense?
A Sunday
roast.
Sunday roast, yeah.
Yeah.
I-
yeah, that'd be great.
It would probably be more divisive than getting your family together every Sunday.
Could be. Depends on the family, I guess.
Right. Well, my family gets together every other Sunday, and we don't talk politics, I'll tell you that.
Roasts the hell out of each other.
Yeah, well, we kind of do. That's the relationship
I
my
see.
brothers and I have.
You know, Nick, I just had a thought. You know, this whole metaphor of like what my mother would call the charismatic megafauna of the tigers and lions being the kind of, the big boys in town.
That was my
I
screen name back in the late 90s, was Charismatic Megafauna.
Oh, that was you? Wow.
Yeah. Sorry for everything I said.
Well, you were a mean person. My fiance and I live in a neighborhood of New York which is predominantly Dominican.
Okay.
Folks from the Dominican Republic, and apparently the local term for like a young ruffian is a tigre.
Oh, okay. It means chipmunk, right?
It does. Spanish is a strange language. No. So and like the metaphor is so clear. It's like, and you see these guys out stalking around with their friends and like, looking
for trouble,
sexy,
looking sexy,
looking for trouble, looking fast but lazy.
Sure.
Perhaps. And it's perhaps not. This metaphor is not one that Ian Anderson invented. I would say.
Sure.
I think he's just using it in an exceptional way. Now, the verse that really gives me a little bit of trouble is the final verse.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a lovely little like religious chestnut here.
Okay.
He who made kittens put snakes in the grass. He's a lover of life, but a player of pawns.
The rivers are full of crocodile nasties, and he who made kittens put snakes in the grass. He's a lover of life, but a player of pawns. Yes,
That is such a beautiful line to me, and I just love that concept of like, oh yeah, you like cute, wonderful little animals. Guess what? Those like, for the same reason that those things exist, all these things that are horrible and that you hate them exist.
Right,
Like it's all
yeah.
part of the same ecosystem. You can't have kittens without having snakes in the grass.
Yes. Yeah, that's
what they say.
That is a direct quote from the Bible. That's the quote that I used in my vows when I got married.
I am the kitten, I am the snake in the grass.
You are my kitten, I am your snake in the grass.
But then the line, yes, the king on his sunset lies waiting for dawn to light up his jungle as play is resumed.
yes, the king on his sunset lies waiting for dawn to light up his jungle as play is resumed.
That is confusing to me. The king of his sunset lies waiting for dawn. Is that sort of, are we looking at is this a continuation of the kind of God conversation here, saying that he's the Alpha and Omega?
I think so. It almost has a semblance of like end of days almost, where like he's waiting for revelation and everything, and then he'll raise everybody and.
Or is it just saying that life and death are the ongoing theme of the jungle, that it's eating and being eaten, and that's what illuminates the jungle with activity?
It is. Beauty can be seen in the light, and for everything that is prey, they're hoping to get by until dawn comes, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's a weird one. A part of me makes it feel like Ian doesn't understand the concept of nocturnal animals, because he makes it sound like everything stops at night. Everybody
Right.
goes to sleep. And which I mean, in the concrete jungle, that does
Right.
happen.
Well, he's from Blackpool.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that
at a certain point they roll up the sidewalks. Here in New York, I wish that more animals were nocturnal, Nick.
Diurnal?
Because I wish that fewer animals were nocturnal.
There you go.
Because I would love to get some sleep. I think that this is another wonderful example of an amoral representation of divinity.
Or not. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And I don't mean immoral.
Right. That's why I stopped myself. Yeah, there is a certain aspect. It kind of falls in between Old and New Testament of God just letting stuff happen. You know, I created it. Now I'm going to watch this experiment happen and not interfere.
It's like if God was French.
Let the kitten be eaten by the snake. I don't care.
It is the right of the kitten.
Where's my
It is the
galois?
right of the snake. My what?
Where's my galois?
What is a galois?
It's the thing that you put a cigarette in. It's like the long plastic thing. Yeah.
Of course, God smokes cigarettes out of a
He
cigarette
does, of
holder.
course.
Yeah.
So what's our overarching theme here?
Sexy, death, and life.
Yeah.
I think it's like, it's like, you know, look at the world. It's this sexy mosh pit of people devouring each other.
It's like that
youth.
that scene from the second Matrix. Was that the club rave turned into an orgy sex scene? Was that second or third? Did you not see that one?
Are you thinking about Bane? I mean,
No.
Blade?
Also no.
What?
There is a rave, in that one too. But no,
Right.
there's something that this weird rave orgy scene in the second or third Matrix where it
Wow.
just devolves,
Yeah.
or
Could be.
evolves.
I think it is that, and but I think additionally, it's like, you know, we live in a world where it's eat or be eaten or both, and you know, there's no escape from this existence. But we're big cats.
Yeah, we can be predators, so we can be confident, and more broadly, it's to me, I just get the sense of let's give in to our animalistic desires because everybody else is.
Right. It's the truth, so why not embrace
Yeah.
it? Let's bungle in the jungle. There's no right. There are no right choices. So let's enjoy our mistakes.
Let's enjoy the choices that we make, regardless of the prey that are affected. Yeah.
Right. Are you gonna eat that wild boar? Because if you're not, somebody else will.
Yeah. So you might as well eat it because you don't know when
Might as
your
well
next
eat it.
wild boar is coming.
Right. Exactly. It's not like they have wild boar delivery services.
Jungle Uber Eats.
Uber boar.
Uber boar.
Uber meats.
Oh, there it is. Perfect.
Wow. I should get 3 hours of sleep every time we record.
Perfect.
Before every episode.
We'll
we
schedule
record.
accordingly.
Nick, anything else that we want to say about Bungle in the Jungle?
Not particularly, no. I'm pretty happy with the assessment. I think, like you said, it's not so confusing and opaque, and it's just nice to see that every now and then. Nice to see
I think
one
it's
that's kind of there's still analogy there, but it's like, okay, we get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I think it's hilarious that the B side of this single was Backdoor Angel.
Right?
I can imagine people listening to the A side and being like, "Yeah, oh wow, Bungle, yeah, sexy cats," and they flip it over and they're just like, "What?"
Yeah, I want to know
What?
who made that decision. Was it just
Yeah,
was it just
it was Ian
let's
Anderson,
roll a
of course.
die and see which one comes up, or
No, I'm sure it was like Terry Ellis being like, "Ian, we need a new single. It has to be a hit." And Ian was like, "Oh, fine. We'll use this sexy animal song. but on the other side, I will put a song which will terrify the nightmares of people for years to come."
I mean, rarely does anyone talk about the B side of a single. It has its own specific connotation for a reason.
If I were to release a single, Nick, the A side would be, you know, a good song people could enjoy.
A little
and then
toe
the
tapper.
B-side, yeah, you'd flip it over, and the B-side would just be 500 live bees would fly out of the album and just terrorize your apartment.
That is expensive to do.
It wouldn't sell very many
Nope.
copies,
Nope.
but it would be memorable.
That's right. And it promotes the pollinators, which is very important. So
That's right.
Yeah, I can back
That's
that.
right. Don't be a hater, be a pollinator.
Yeah. Peace, love, and dandelions.
That's a bungle in the jungle. Well, it's alright.
So next week, Omen,
Yeah, what are we listening to now?
next week we are going to listen to, it's a little one, it's a short one, but it is heavily laced in commentary. It is Only Solitaire.
Oh, the shade is real.
Cass,
Bring your flashlights.
it is the brightest shade I've ever seen. Only Solitaire
Indeed.
next week.
Exciting. Until then,
It's not a bungle to go to the jungle that is Apple Podcasts to leave us a review and 5 stars. In fact, it might be the best decision you make today. Every animal is doing it, so you should really do it too. Give in to your animalistic desires to rate us.
wow, yeah.
I feel bad. I feel like I feel bad about that one.
You can choose whether you want to create the kitten of a positive review or be a snake in the grass and not review us at all.
Those are the only 2 options.
Those are the only two animals.
Fact. Yep.
Yeah.
Until next week, I am Nick McGill.
I am Omen Sade,
We are Feckless Momes.
and this is Talk Tull to Me.
And here we see the snake slithering through the grass, approaching an innocent little kitten climbing a tree. The kitten is unaware of the danger that is approaching as it plays gleefully with a butterfly. That butterfly is rare and only just recorded for this podcast. This butterfly is a Toctolicus tumeacus. And it is, if you would believe it, a proud member of the Feckless Momesidae family. Oh, dear Jesus.